Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk
Good morning, Eric.
after the announcements.
Today is Tuesday, January 17th. Over the weekend, happy birthday to Noah Kuhn and Jose Bautista. Today, happy birthday to Xenia Cortez. Here are today's announcements. If you have signed up to be a breakfast monitor, tomorrow morning when you have finished eating, go ahead and start your duties. On Friday, let Mrs. Booth know how many days you helped that week. Today's daily kindness quote. Everywhere you go, leave a glitter trail of kindness behind you. If you haven't already done so, please stand for the pledge.
Angel, lead us.
Ready? Good.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome job. Have a seat. Okay, so it's 9:08. The schedule says we'll start reading at 9:15, so we're going to make this quick, and we'll probably have a little bit more conversation about it later. But I just wanted to, first of all, thank those of you who were really well behaved for the subs when I was gone on Thursday and Friday. I know that it was kind of a weird situation where we had subs that we didn't know, and we had different subs and really quick 2-day thing. So those of you who were really well behaved, I appreciate you a lot, okay, and you will be rewarded, okay? Those of you who maybe struggled a little bit, we're going to have a talk at lunch recess today, okay? So I'll let you know who you are in a private way, but I just think that maybe we should talk about it, and I want to hear what happened from your side, and I want you to know how the sub felt too, okay? So we will talk about that later. But why don't we think about this in a positive way? So who can tell me why it's important to be respectful of subs? Who can tell me real quick? I mean, if you want to think about that for a minute, go ahead. But I want just want to know. So when I see a few more hands raised, I'll go ahead and call on some people. Keegan, why is it important to be respectful of subs?
Because they're new to the classroom. They don't know what you do when you do what's mainly going to go on.
Right.
How the classroom is run.
Excellent. Keegan, I think that you're right on board there when you say they're new to our classroom. Think about it if it was you and you were a new student and you came to the class and everyone was super mean to you. Would you feel good or would you feel bad? Show me with your thumbs. I see a lot of bads. Okay? It can be uncomfortable coming to a class for the first time, right? And I know some of you may have had that sub on, especially on Friday, a time or two before, but he's still new to this classroom. It was a last-minute change. He didn't know he was going to be subbing until that morning. So Keegan is right. We do have to be respectful of them because they're new to our classroom, and it makes me really sad when I get a text from Mrs. Peterson when I'm in the middle of a conference where I'm trying to learn so I can be a better teacher. It makes me really sad when I get a text from her like, oh, things didn't go so well today. Okay? Because I know you guys. You guys are awesome, and I brag about you all the time. Okay? So we're going to keep it positive, and we're going to think how we can better ourselves. Okay? And so it's 9:11 now, so we're going to go ahead and end that conversation. If you have something you'd like to say to me privately, feel free. And like I said, I will talk to those of you who maybe we need to have a conversation at lunch recess. Okay? Does that sound good? Thumbs up if that sounds good and you're ready to move on. Perfect. Okay. Well, actually, Miss Mack, while you're in here, can you just tell us how it went on Thursday?
This is pretty good.
Awesome. Hi, Dylan.
They were respectful when I asked them to be. You know, it was more of a relaxed day because it was real nice.
Yeah.
The only problem we had was at the end of the day when I forgot the chairs and
Okay.
we were a little bit rowdy, but
Okay.
other than that, they were good.
Okay. Was it a little easier because you guys all know Miss Mack?
Yep.
And you see her every day? And she knows you? Yeah, that makes it a little easier. Okay, cool. So, like I said, Miss Hawkins is going to come in about 3 or 5 minutes. Okay, and I'm not going to start our reading lesson until she's in here because she wants to watch how great you guys are, like I said. So why don't we take advantage of this time and spend it working on our PSTs and daily geography so you can get those out and work on those for a few minutes. Okay? So apparently Tuesdays are just observation days now, but Miss Hawkins will be coming in, and she's just going to sit here, and then they're recording me again, but it didn't work last time, so yes, but you know, just do what you normally do, and we're all good. So
Okay. That was good.
it was awesome, so good. Yeah. Hey, what's up?
The first question, I don't get it.
Okay, read it to me.
When you picture a place in your mind, what kind of map are you making?
Is there any information on the back of this that could help you?
I've read it.
Okay. So what kind of question do you think this is? Do you think this is a question that you can find the answer on here, or is it one that maybe you're going to have to think through?
Through like an imaginary one?
So do you think that there's like a right or wrong answer for this question? I don't think there is. I think that this is about you. When you picture a place in your mind, what kind of map are you making? I mean, are you when you close your eyes and you picture a place in your mind, are you making a globe?
Oh,
Are you making a pull down map? Okay. Good. Good. Slater, hey buddy. How's it going?
I don't get it.
You don't get this? Well, why don't we work on this for a while? Okay, because you can get this all done today if you want. So you can work on this, and then I will meet with you later when we have more time and we can go through this together. How does that sound? Good? Okay. Did you have a weekend?
Yes.
Good. Awesome. 7 sales. Oh, I wasn't here for the thing, but good job. Awesome. I want to pause real quick and let's look at the first question on daily geography, Monday, number 1. Is this the kind of question that you can find an answer on this paper? No. What kind of question is this? Like, is it a yes or no question? Tristan, what kind of question do you think it is? This is, yeah, Brendan.
It's a question that's pretty much like asking how you think.
Good.
Not based off of any details or knowledge of
Good.
what maps are called.
Yeah, excellent. So what Brendan is saying is that Caden's answer might be different from Taylor's answer, okay? But when you close your eyes and you picture a place in your head, are you making a globe? Are you creating a globe with your mind? So I'm going to close my eyes, I'm going to picture Africa, and all of a sudden a globe is going to appear. No, what am I doing? What am I using? Your mind. There's an I word that I'm kind of looking for. Think back to when you were a kid and you used to play with your imagination. Good. Okay. Keep working. We've got a few more minutes. We might start without Miss Hawkins if she doesn't get here in the next 3 minutes, okay? What do you think? No, I just said that we weren't. Yeah. Tristan, will you turn on my projector, please? You can use the remote. Thank you. Hello, Ezekiel. You can pick up a daily geography and PST off the horseshoe table. And then we're going to get started on our reading, okay? Thank you. Did you miss the bus or what? Huh? Whoops. Just have too much fun on your day off yesterday that you thought maybe you're going to sleep in again today? Well, I'm glad that you are here. Hello, Miss Hawkins. Okay, everybody can see that Miss Hawkins just walked in, so it is time now to put our reading material, our daily geography and PSTs away, and get out your reading binders, your Frightful Mountain, and a pencil. Those are the only 3 materials you will need. Christopher, can you get going back? Okay, and I want that all to happen within the next 25 seconds, and then we're going to champ it out, okay? Wow, 6th graders, that was excellent. Thank you for doing that quickly and quietly. I see some of you are still finishing up, so if you could do that quietly while we move on to champ it out, that'd be great. Okay, who can tell me what the C in champs stands for? Brendan. Conversation. So who can tell me with their fingers what my expectation of whole group lessons will be? Okay, whole group lessons. When I am talking up here or when somebody is sharing out. I see some different fingers. I see 1s and 0s. Okay, thank you. When we do whole group lesson, it's a level 0. Okay, that means one person will be talking and you will sound like what? Like that. Good. Excellent. Okay, who can tell me small group voice level with their fingers? Good, I see a lot of 1s. I want you to demonstrate a level 1 to your neighbor. Good. So small group, we have a voice level of 1. That's a whisper. Okay? Who can tell me what the H in CHAMP stands for? Mariana.
Help.
Help. During a reading lesson, which is what we're going to be doing, how do you ask for help? What's one way you can ask for help? Kaylee? Ask 3, and then me. Good. So if it's just a small question that maybe your neighbor can answer, ask 3 of them, and if you still don't get an answer, you can ask me. All right, perfect. And what's another way that you can get my attention, Jessica? Raise a quiet hand. And what is the most important word in that phrase, Jessica? Quiet hand. Who can show me what a quiet hand looks and sounds like? Wow, 6th graders, you are doing a really good job of having quiet hands today. Thank you. All right, what does the A in CHAMP stand for? Jackson. Activity. And this activity is our reading lesson. Okay, and we are going to be doing whole and small group stuff, just like always, okay? Group. Okay, who can tell me what the M in CHAMPS means? Christopher? Think about what we usually put up there, and then think about what the M might stand for. You want somebody to help you out? Okay. Alex, what does the M mean? Close. Mariana? Movement. Okay, so what is one expectation I have of movement during a reading lesson? Alex? Restrooms are not okay. You just got to school and you probably will not have to use the restroom. Good. What's another one that I usually have, Robert? So during whole group, we don't do drinks. Can you get a drink during small group discussion? Yeah, but make it quick and quiet, okay? What about desks? How do I feel about desks during reading lessons? How do we deal with our desks? Ooh, I see thumbs down. I like that you guys automatically went to that. So are we going to be rummaging in our desks? Are our desks going to be open? Unless there's a special circumstance and I'm like, oh, you might need a pen or a highlighter, okay? So we're going to say no on desks. Okay, what about, are we walking around wandering the room? No. So I'm going to say wandering is a no-go. Great. Does this sound good for movement? Everybody clear on my expectations of movement? Good. Okay. What is the P in CHAMPS, Kaylee? Participation. And what's one expectation I have of you for participation? Keegan?
Answer the question for me.
Okay, so how about participate in group discussion? Okay, so participate in discussions. Okay. What else? Jackson. Okay, so do your part. Don't distract. What does it mean to not distract? And do you notice I put distract today and not district like I did last week? Mariana, what does it mean to not distract?
To not interrupt people when they're talking.
Okay, good. So if Kaylee is sharing her feelings about DDT, and I'm going, oh, Kaylee! Do you think that she would like that very much? Is that a positive way to act in class? No. Okay, so we're going to keep it positive. We're going to follow all of these expectations, and that will lead to? Success! That will lead to? Success! Oh, come on, 6th graders. That will lead to? Success! Good. Okay, I am ready to begin. Are you guys ready to begin? All right. So I know it's Tuesday morning, and we did not have school yesterday, but we're going to get into it today. Yes, Alex?
I have a question. What's up with tablets?
We're just doing some video recording today.
Okay.
It's just for teachers to learn,
Okay.
for me to learn, and for other people to learn. Okay, so the title of our lesson today is The Exterminator. And we're going to be looking at citing evidence and building vocabulary. Okay, so who wants to read my very first learning target? We only have 2 today, so who wants to read my first one? Slater, thank you for volunteering.
First, I need my glasses.
Okay, get your glasses out.
I can get the gist of the informational article of the exterminator.
Good, I can get the gist of the informational article, The Exterminator. Ezekiel, why don't you read my second one? Well, you can come up closer if you'd like.
I can collect.
Do you want somebody to help you out? Good.
Vocabulary by reading the
Good. Okay, so those are the 2 things that by the end of this lesson we will be able to do, and we'll break those down in just a minute. But right now I want you to open your books to chapter 4, which you read on Friday. Okay? So I know it's been a long weekend, but kind of skim through, familiarize yourself again with chapter 4, and then we're going to have a little bit of a focus question. Okay, so our focus is going to be, what signs in nature signal the falcon that it is time to migrate? So what happens in the world, in nature, maybe it's the weather, maybe it's something else, that tells the falcons that they need to get out of there, that they need to migrate. So it's 9:26 now. At 9:31, that gives you 5 minutes. You're going to share with your neighbors, and then we're going to share out whole group, okay? But right now, I want you to just focus on thinking about it, okay? So you'll have about 3 minutes of quiet, okay? And then maybe you can share with your elbow partner, the person sitting next to you, and then you'll share out whole group, okay? So, what signs in nature signal the falcon that it is time to migrate? So you should have your books open to chapter 4, and you should be looking in them. Where's your book, bud?
In my desk.
Oh, well, over here? Well, I don't see one over here, Caden. Okay, well, we will have time to find that later, but for now you can use my copy, okay? But we will have to find that, okay? Okay, so it should be a voice level 0 for 3 minutes at least, okay? And then you guys will be able to share out. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but let's just have it a voice level 0 right now. Hey, Dylan, did you have a good weekend? Yeah? Did you get a chance to read chapter 4 on Friday? I know I was gone. Yes or no?
Yeah.
You did? How was it? It was good. Did you learn anything about the falcons? Do you remember? Can you tell me one thing that you remember from chapter 4? No? Do you want to start rereading it a little bit? Perfect. I will come check on you in just a few minutes, okay? Okay, I'd like to see your eyes in the book, please. Awesome. Way to go. Thank you. Christopher, your chapter 4 is not open.
No, I already found something.
You already found something. Can you share it with me? That's awesome that you found something so quickly. I appreciate that. Okay, so what does that tell you?
That it's colder now they need to migrate.
So what did you do right there? Did it tell you specifically in the book that it was cold and they needed to migrate? So what close reading skill did you use to figure that out? Can you look at our chart up there? There's 4 that you made. One of those 4 I think you used.
Analyze.
Okay, so you discovered or revealed something through close examination. But did you also take maybe some information from what you know about a damp wind? And you knew that it was what?
Damp is usually wet.
Damp is usually wet. Does it sound like something that's very, very nice and cozy? Kind of sounds cold, right? So you used your background knowledge. So you used what you
Read.
and what you
know.
and you made in. Look up there. Inference. Good job. Okay, so it's 9:29. It's been 3 minutes since you guys started skimming through chapter 4. So now if you have an idea, you may share it with your elbow partner in your pod, okay? If not, keep reading and maybe listen to what your neighbors are saying. That might give you an idea, okay? So that means you have 2 more minutes until we share a whole group, okay? Did you guys find anything?
I did.
What'd you find?
There were 3 signal sheets filled fitness nerve of her body, the right heart phase higher, the shape of the atmosphere. She felt silence.
Oh, okay. So what does that tell you?
It's kind of a bird instinct that if you feel all 3 of those things, it's on the go.
Good. I like how you use the word instinct. Can you explain that word and what it means? You can think on that, okay? Think about what instinct means. I hear some really good conversation, 6th graders. I appreciate that. What'd you guys find out?
Instinct is like when the falcon is done eating and all that, they just go, that's the one they're instinct.
I like that you use that word instinct. I heard that word over at in China as well. So what does that word instinct mean?
Just like natural for them, that's just what they do.
It's natural, right? So maybe is instinct a good falcon term? You know how we're taking falcon vocabulary? Jacob, do you want to go write instinct on our falcon facts chart? I'll give you a marker. Or Jessica or somebody else. Anybody want to write it? Brendan? Okay.
Oh, you want to do it?
Go for it, Jacob. You said it. You can write it. Okay. Okay, 6th graders, can I have your attention in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voices are at 0 and eyes are on me. Thank you. Excellent job transitioning. As you can see, Brendan is over here writing a new word on our Falcon Facts sheet. Brendan, can you say what? Oh, well, maybe he is going to. Brendan, can you tell us what word you're going to write up there? Instinct. And why are you writing the word Sorry, Kaden. Why are you writing the word instinct up there?
Because we thought that that was a good falcon term because falcons have instincts on doing stuff. It's just natural.
Would you say that maybe falcons have instincts or a sign from nature that tells them when to migrate?
Yeah.
So could we maybe even replace signs in nature to instincts? Good. Because instincts are when nature and the bird come together and something in nature makes the bird say, yep, I gotta go. It's cold. Good. Okay, so I heard some good conversation over here in China. Can you talk about what you found some of the instincts were?
That, there has to be 3 things that they have to
Speak a
feel.
little louder.
They have to feel 3 things, and those 3 things are
Stand up, please.
of their body, the right of the environment, and the chill of the atmosphere.
Okay, so Tristan said, I don't know if you guys could hear, but there were 3 things that the falcon had to feel. Okay? Can you name them again, loudly? Okay, so those are 3 things that are signs in nature that tells the falcon it's time to migrate. What does the word migrate mean again? Somebody remind me by raising their hand and telling me. Thanks, Kaden. What does it mean to migrate? Good. Kaden said migrate means for the bird to travel from one place to another. Excellent. Thanks, Kaden. Good. So, did Frightful feel those things? Yes or no? I want to see thumbs. Or maybe I'm not sure yet. That's okay. I see some yeses. I see some I'm not sure yet. I don't think I see any no's. Do you think maybe we can closely read chapter 4 again later and think about that question? Good. So we'll probably come back to that. Excellent. Okay. So, like I said earlier, we're going to unpack our learning targets a little bit more now. So, our first learning target is I can get the gist of the informational article, The Exterminator. We, as 6th graders, should be experts in getting the gist by now, right? But just refresh my memory. Who can raise their hand and tell me what it means to get the gist? Jackson, why don't you tell me what it means to get the gist of something? Okay. Good. I like how you kind of connected gist and main idea. I don't think they're exactly the same, but the way I think of it is the gist is kind of a rough sketch of the main idea. It's like a rough draft of the main idea. Okay? It's maybe not as detailed as the main idea, but it's like, this was about birds. This was about peregrine falcons. Okay? So we're going to be reading an informational article called The Exterminator, and we're going to be talking about the gist of it. And we're going to be making gist statements as we go through that, just like we've done with almost every article we've read, right? Okay. Who can read my second objective? Alex.
I can collect scientific vocabulary by reading The Exterminator.
Good. So do you remember how last week I told you that this reading unit is kind of also a science unit? Well, as close readers, we're going to take scientific vocabulary, the kind of words that way cool, super awesome scientists use every single day, and we are going to understand what those words mean. So they might be super hard words that we're like, I have no idea, but we're going to collect those words and put them in categories to help us understand them a little bit better. Okay? Because we're going to be close readers, but we're also going to be scientists this unit. Okay? Does that sound good? Okay. Can you sit up, please, Chris? Thank you. Awesome job. Okay, so what does it mean to collect? I know we talked about that a little last time, but let's look at that word collect. Are we going to be picking scientific words up off the ground? No. What are we going to be doing? Mariana?
What I think collecting, like, I imagine like a little piece of paper and a little pen pencil inside of my brain.
Awesome.
And just writing things down.
Okay, so it's like you have a notebook in your brain, right? And you're going to take that word off of the page, not really, but in your mind, and you're going to put it in that notebook in your mind. Good, I like that visual picture you just put in my mind. Good. Alex?
What I think collecting is like to find information about scientific art,
Yeah.
like words and like studies.
We're just going to pick them out of the article, right?
Yeah.
Good. We're going to collect them. Awesome. So are we clear on our objectives for today? Yes, no, and not yet. I want to see everybody's thumbs to tell me that you are with us. Slater, can I see your thumb? Awesome. I see a lot of yeses. Good. Okay. So, who's my paper passer-outer? Natalia? Who else? Are you the only one? And Taylor? Okay. Will you help me pass these out? So Natalia and Taylor are going to come around and pass out these articles. And while they do this, when you get your article, I want you to, without talking, so still at a voice level 0, I want you to be skimming this. Okay? So we're not going to start reading it. We're just going to look over it. We're going to skim it. kind of get a general idea of what this article is about, okay? Oh, if they don't staple, just skip them. There should be enough stapled ones for everybody. Thank you. No, it's fine. I think I just mixed my originals in with the... Okay, so you should be skimming, not reading, just skimming. You do? Okay, this one's not stapled, but there you go. Okay, so does everybody have one now? Perfect. Okay, so when we skim this article, I'm just going to look at maybe some bolded words. I'm going to look at if there's any pictures. Maybe look at, there's a side thing here. Maybe see if I can read through that. So just in the next 30 seconds, skim through it and maybe put a star by something if it's important. Okay? Go ahead and start doing that. 30 seconds. Hello. Are you going to take him to group?
I was going to see if you wanted to do sensory this morning.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Yep, sounds good. Thanks. All right. Now let's bring it back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 voice level, and eyes are on me. So, now that you've skimmed, I want you to turn and talk to your group on what you kind of got out of that skimming. So, what do you think this article is going to be about? Just based on that short 30 seconds of looking at the article that we did, okay? So go ahead and turn and talk to your groups and what you think it's going to be about. I'll give you about 2 minutes to discuss.
About something that happened. When it says that, maybe it's about something that happened to you.
Good.
It's just going to be about malaria and how many people died and how they tried to cure it or solve the disease.
Interesting. Okay, based on our skimming over here in Russia, what do we think that this is going to be about?
About like mosquitoes.
Okay, Jessica, what were you going to say?
I thought it was like DDT that was like in the Civil War.
Okay, did you see the word Civil War and they kind of stuck out to you? Cool, awesome. I like how you saw that one phrase and you connected it to what we already know about DDT. Great job. What do we think it's going to be about over here in Afghanistan? Sickness. Why do you think sickness?
Bad air.
Yeah?
Seriously.
Ooh. So you see bad air and seriously sick, and you put those two things together, and you think maybe the air is causing a sickness?
We're supposed to do it on.
Yeah, well, there's the whole article is what we're supposed to skim.
It's going to be about the world's worst disease.
Okay, and do you have an idea about what the world's worst disease is?
Like malaria or something.
Malaria. Okay, I do see that word malaria there. Awesome observation, Robert. What about you three up here in Brazil? What do you think this is going to be about?
That video that we watched.
Okay.
So that's what I was seeing because I saw like birds like about the eggs when they sat on them they would crack, and I saw like about it infecting the water, and then I remembered that.
Good. Okay, 6th graders. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 voice level. Eyes are on me. Great job. Okay, so who wants to share out what your group discussed about what, based on your skimming, what is this article going to be about? Let's see, somebody who hasn't really done a lot of talking today. Crystal, what did your group talk about? It might be talking about sickness, and can you tell me where you got that idea from, just based on your skimming? So you saw bad air, and you already knew in your background knowledge that, you know, we breathe air every day, and that could make us sick if it's bad. Good. Keegan, yeah.
It's going to be mainly about malaria and different things along with how they tried to stop it, how it grew, how many people died, different things like that, where it came from.
Good. So I noticed that Keegan said that word malaria. Raise your hand if you remember that word from a lesson that we've had already. That word malaria. Good. And Keegan, where did you get that idea from? Just by skimming through this article really quickly.
By looking in the, well, before bad air. It says malaria kills an estimated 2 million people every year, and when I just skimmed some of the other stuff, it said bad air and malaria. That's why I thought malaria is spread by bad air.
Okay.
And it's also, in India, malaria means bad air.
Oh, okay, good. So when he was skimming, he saw some numbers that he picked up on. He saw the word malaria. Good. So raise your hand if you think this article is somehow going to connect to peregrine falcons. I don't see a lot of hands. And why? Somebody who's not raising their hand, tell me why you don't think it's going to connect to peregrine falcons. Brendan.
I think that it will connect to, like, mosquitoes and malaria and DDT, but I don't think that it'll exactly talk about peregrine falcons, but it might,
Okay.
because it's talking about a big exterminator, but I would think that that would be about talking DDT is the exterminator.
So you think it's going to be more about DDT than peregrine falcons? But we already know that we've made connections between DDT and peregrine falcons, right? And do you remember how I told you that we're going to be forming an opinion about DDT throughout this whole thing? So do you think that this will help us form an opinion? Why or why not? Somebody raise your hand and tell me what they think. Robert, what do you think? Do you think this article is going to help us form an opinion about DDT? Why? You don't know yet? Okay. Mariana, what do you think?
I think it's going to help me form an opinion because it has more detail about what I can read about.
Good. And I really like what Mariana said. She has said it has more detail. And remember, in order to form an opinion, we need a lot of detail about both sides, right? Because we've seen, or we've read an article about one side, about maybe the bad things about DDT, and then we watched a video about the good things about DDT. Do you think that just one source from each side is enough to form an opinion? Thumbs up for yes, thumbs down for no. I like the fact that I see a lot of thumbs down. We need to have as many sources as possible. Okay? So, we are going to read the article out loud. So I want your eyes on the article, and I want you to follow along silently with me. Okay? And our focus for this reading is just to get a main idea or a rough sketch, a gist about what this article is about. Okay? So, this is the exterminator. Can an old pesticide that is banned in most countries defeat one of the world's worst diseases? By Kristen Weir. Few Americans ever give much thought to malaria. That wasn't always so. Malaria once infected and killed many people in the United States. During the Civil War, more than 1 million soldiers fell ill with the disease. By the middle of the 20th century, malaria had been wiped out in the United States, Canada, and Northern Europe. But it continues to be a serious health problem in many tropical countries. Malaria kills an estimated 2 million people every year, most of them children under age 5. Despite an international effort to control the disease, malaria rates in Africa have risen over the past few years. It's going in the wrong direction, said Roger Bate, the director of Africa Fighting Malaria, a nonprofit research and advocacy group. Bate is one of several health officials now pushing for broader use of DDT, a chemical that played an important role in kicking malaria out of the United States. They argue that DDT is the best option available for saving lives. But DDT is a touchy subject because it has been banned in the United States and many other countries for decades. Bad air. People once believed that breathing nasty swamp air caused malaria. In fact, the word malaria is Italian for bad air. Toward the end of the 19th century, scientists identified the true cause, a single-celled parasite they named Plasmodium. About the same time, scientists also discovered that mosquitoes act as vectors for the parasite, passing it on when they bite people. A vector is an organism that spreads disease-causing agents from host to host without harm to itself. See A Parasite Circle of Life, page 6. We won't be reading that today. The malaria parasites need warm temperatures to develop inside mosquitoes, and the balmy southeastern United States was once hit hard by the disease. Malaria existed nearly everywhere mosquitoes did. During steamy summers, the disease reached as far north as Montreal. That's in Canada. Changes in living habits, a shift towards city living, better sanitation, and the use of window screens were largely responsible for the eradication of malaria, but DDT also played a part. DDT is an insecticide, a chemical that kills insects. In the 1930s and 1940s, when the U.S. government made a serious effort to wipe out malaria, DDT was one of its preferred weapons. When the U.S. government made a serious effort, was one of its preferred weapons. It was sprayed on swamps and other wet areas where mosquitoes bred. Small accounts were also applied to some household walls in rural communities. By 1951, malaria was gone from the United States, but DDT was still used for other purposes. Huge quantities of it were sprayed by airplane on farmland to kill the insect pests that feasted on cotton and other crops. At first, no one worried about the possible effects of the chemical on the environments. Then, in 1962, an ecologist named Rachel Carson captured the country's attention with her book Silent Spring, which detailed the dangers of DDT. Carson described the damage done by DDT, which persisted in nature for years without breaking down. The chemical first built up in the tissues of fish. It then accumulated inside eagles and other birds of prey that ate the fish. It caused the birds' eggshells to become thin and brittle. The eggs cracked under their own weight, sending the bird populations into a nosedive. The U.S. government responded by banning DDT in 1972. I'm going to read this side thing now, so we're going to the side here. Seriously sick. Malaria begins with flu-like symptoms: fever, sweating, chills, headaches, muscle aches, and nausea. The symptoms come and go every 48 to 72 hours. Without treatment, the disease can get much worse. The parasites infect and destroy red blood cells, which can lead to severe anemia, a condition in which the concentration of red blood cells is too low to supply enough oxygen to the body's tissues. Infected blood cells can also clump together and stick to the body's blood vessels, blocking blood flow to the brain. The result is often blindness, brain damage, and death. Drugs are available to treat malaria, though many drugs are expensive. To be most effective, the drugs must be taken before the disease becomes severe. Poor families in places such as rural Africa often cannot afford the drugs, or they put off going for treatment until it is too late. Such prophylactic or preventative medications are also available. When given to uninfected people, they attack the parasite if it ever gets into the body. But these drugs are expensive and hard on the body. Travelers can safely take in time for a few weeks or months, but the pills are too toxic for people living in malaria-affected countries to tolerate for long periods of time. Double whammy. Many other countries followed suit, including a number of nations that relied on DDT for malaria control. A handful of malaria-ridden countries have continued to use DDT to control the disease. But even in those countries, DDT is no longer dumped in mass quantities onto the land. It is applied only to the inside walls of houses. Because malaria mosquitoes bite after dusk, protecting people inside their homes can be very effective. DDT packs a double whammy. It repels most mosquitoes and kills those that get too close. It is by far the cheapest insecticide available and lasts twice as long as the alternatives. South America was one nation that continued to use DDT after the United States banned the chemical. By 1996, South Africa had fewer than 10,000 annual malaria deaths. That year, the country switched from DDT to other insecticides. The new insecticides were also widely used in farming, and the overexposed mosquitoes quickly became resistant to the chemicals. By 2000, the number of deaths from malaria had risen to more than 60,000. At that point, South Africa turned back to DDT. Within 3 years, malaria infections dropped nearly to 1996 levels. In other countries where DDT had been used, from Ecuador to Sri Lanka, it has had similar positive effects. Today, only about 20 countries use DDT for malaria control. According to Roger Bate, many more could benefit, he says. Public fear. Why don't more countries use the powerful insecticide? DDT probably has more opponents than any other insecticide because of its historic use, explained Bate, but it's mistaking the point. Okay, I know that was a lot, and there was a lot of confusing words in there, and also a few typos in that. So that's okay, but we can move past that, okay? So I want you to take the next 30 seconds and describe to your neighbors if what you thought after skimming the article is what the article was actually about. Okay, 30 seconds, ready, go. You know what, my expectations are not right now, so you can wait until we take a break from reading, okay? When we're done with the lesson. Okay? Do you guys think it was the same as what you thought it was going to be? Okay. Maybe a little bit, not as much, but that's okay. Good. Can I hear some more discussion up here at Brazil, please? About 15 more seconds. I don't know if Brazil has done much talking today. Can you guys tell me something that you connected from your skimming? Thank you. Good, I like how you used that word parasites that was from the article. Good, great job, Christopher. Thank you for sharing that.
Scientists technically.
Yeah?
So scientists technically developed malaria? Because they say that they made a parasite?
No, they found a parasite. Yes, they didn't make the parasite. What's your question, Christopher?
What is insecticide?
Ooh, we can talk about that in a minute. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voices are at 0 and eyes are on me. I gave you a little bit extra time because I liked this discussions that I was hearing. So thumbs up or thumbs down or thumbs to the side if you're like maybe. If what you got out of skimming this was what the article was actually about. Yes, it was. Kind of. I kind of missed the point, or no, I didn't. My skimming did not help me at all. Okay, I see a lot of thumbs up. So skimming is a good skill that close readers use to determine or to get a little bit of an understanding about what they're going to be reading about. Okay? Just like every lesson, I tell you what the end goal is, right? So that way you can focus on those things. Okay? You know what to expect when you're going to be reading this if you've skimmed through it quickly. Okay? Good. So, now what we're going to do is we're going to do a second read. So we did our first read, kind of our rough sketch read, our gist read, right? Now we're going to do an even closer gist read the second time. Okay? So let's read this here. This article is about the disease and the use of pesticides. It includes a lot of scientific vocabulary. Okay, remember how that was one of our learning objectives, that we were going to collect scientific vocabulary? This is what we're collecting it from. Okay? We will need to be very focused readers when reading this article. Raise your hand if you were a little confused by this article. My hand is up. Miss Browning was a little confused by this article the first time I read it. That's okay, because we're close readers, so we're going to take a more focused look at that, and that will help us get rid of some of those misunderstandings, okay? So, I'm going to reread the text, but I'm going to go a lot slower, okay? So this is going to take us a little while, okay? I want you to follow along and annotate the text. Remember what it means to annotate the text? We're going to be taking notes, right? But we're going to be taking specific notes, okay? What I want you to do is when you annotate, these are the only two things you're going to do. I need your eyes up here so I know that you're with me. Keegan, can I have your eyes, please, Robert? Thank you. Okay, circle any scientific words you see. This means if you think a word is scientific, you're going to circle it. Okay? So, for example, if I was reading this, I would say, I think that the word DDT is a scientific word. So I'm going to circle DDT. Even if you're not sure, if you think it is a scientific word, circle it. Or if you know it's a scientific word. Yes, thank you, Tristan. And then we're going to go through each section, and when I get done with that section, I'm going to give you about 45 seconds to a minute to write a gist statement. Remember, our gist is just a rough sketch of our main idea. Okay? Brendan has a question. Yes? Yep. Brendan's question was, can it be like abbreviations? And yes, it can. DDT is an abbreviation of a really long chemical that I did not take the time to read because we've gone through it before. Okay? And we know already that DDT is a chemical, right? All right, so I'm going to read section by section, and then after each section, we'll write a gist statement. Okay? I'm going to read a little bit quicker this time than I did last time. So if I'm reading too fast, put your hand in the air, and that will know that I need to slow down. Okay? All right. The exterminator. Can an old pesticide that is banned in most countries defeat one of the world's worst diseases? By Kristen Weir. Few Americans ever give much thought to malaria. That wasn't always so. Malaria once infected and killed many people in the United States. During the Civil War, more than 1 million soldiers fell ill with the disease. By the middle of the 20th century, malaria had been wiped out in the United States, Canada, and Northern Europe. But it continues to be a serious health problem in many tropical countries. Malaria kills an estimated 2 million people every year, most of them children under age 5. Despite an international effort to control the disease, malaria rates in Africa have risen over the past few years. It's going in the wrong direction, said Roger Bate, the director of Africa Fighting Malaria, a nonprofit research and advocacy group. Bate is one of several health officials now pushing for broader use of DDT, a chemical that played an important role in kicking malaria out of the United States. They argue that DDT is the best option available for saving lives. But DDT is a touchy subject because it has been banned in the United States and many other countries for decades. Okay, 45 seconds to write a gist statement for that first part. What is a rough sketch of that first part? Jacob, so I need you to be annotating as we go through. Were there any scientific words in there? I saw quite a few. Okay, and then I want you to... Okay, good. Awesome. Malaria is a scientific word. Okay, and then I want you to write a gist statement, please. Okay, thank you. I like how you circled that word as soon as I came to. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's make sure that we're on the right page here, because we have started the article over, and we're going to be annotating, circling our scientific words, okay? And then we're going to write a gist statement. About 15 more seconds, 6th graders. Thank you for getting your pencil out to work. Appreciate that. I see some really good gist statements as I'm walking around. I appreciate that, 6th graders. You have mastered the gist statement. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are going to move on to the next section, which is called bad air. So everybody should be on this very first page. We're going to read bad air. You're going to circle scientific words. That doesn't mean a few of you are going to circle scientific words. That means everybody's going to be circling scientific words. Okay? Did you have a question, Christopher? Like this last one? Oh, there you go. Okay, bad air. People once believed that breathing nasty swamp air caused malaria. In fact, the word malaria is Italian for bad air. Toward the end of the 19th century, scientists identified the true cause, a single-celled parasite they called Plasmodium. About the same time, scientists also discovered that mosquitoes act as vectors for the parasite, passing it on when they bite people. A vector is an organism that spreads disease-causing agents from host to host without harm to itself. The malaria parasites need warm temperatures to develop inside mosquitoes, and the balmy southeastern United States was once hit hard by the disease. Malaria existed nearly everywhere mosquitoes did. During steamy summers, the disease reached as far north as Montreal. Changes in living habits, a shift toward city living, Better sanitation and the use of window screens were largely responsible for the eradication of malaria, but DDT also played a part. DDT is an insecticide, a chemical that kills insects. In the 1930s and 1940s, when the U.S. government made a serious effort to wipe out malaria, DDT was one of its preferred weapons. It was sprayed on swamps and other wet areas where mosquitoes bred. Small amounts were also applied to some household walls in rural communities. By 1951, malaria was gone from the United States, but DDT was still used for other purposes. Huge quantities of it were sprayed by airplane on farmland to kill the insect pests that feasted on cotton and other crops. At first, no one worried about the possible effects on the chemical on the environment. Then, in 1962, an ecologist named Rachel Carson captured the country's attention with her book Silent Spring, which detailed the dangers of DDT. Carson described the damage done by DDT, which persisted in nature for years without breaking down. The chemical first built up in the tissues of fish. It then accumulated inside eagles and other birds of prey that ate the fish. It caused the birds' eggshells to become thin and brittle. The eggs cracked under their own weight, sending bird populations into a nosedive. The U.S. government responded by banning DDT in 1972. Okay, so that is that section. So go back through, and if you see any scientific words that you missed, circle them, and then I'll give you about a minute to write a gist statement. This one was a little bit longer, so I'll give you about a minute.
Christopher, you've been doing a really great job today so far, but I just want to make sure that you're following along. Okay? I know that you're curious about a whole lot of things, but we don't need this right now. Okay? Okay, so this isn't in there, but so I want you to be circling, okay?
I saw a lot of scientific vocabulary in this section, 6th graders, so I should see hopefully at least 5 circled words. And a gist statement. Great job, Brendan. Okay, about 20 more seconds.
They were talking about how malaria. Oh, okay. Good. I like that you circled this word. What about that told you to circle it? Why do you think that's a scientific word? You saw eco, and you know that eco has to do with science, right? So you used your background knowledge? Excellent job. Make sure you bring that up later when we share out, okay?
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voices are at 0 and eyes are on me. I will say that again. Voices are at 0 and eyes are on me. Thank you. Awesome job, 6th graders. Okay, so we're going to now move into the Seriously Sick. And I know that this one didn't copy that well, so it's kind of hard to read. So this is when your listening skills are important. So when you hear a word, you should be following along and circle it, okay? All right, seriously sick. Malaria begins with flu-like symptoms: fever, sweating, chills, headaches, muscle aches, and nausea. The symptoms come and go every 48 to 72 hours. Without treatment, the disease can get much worse. The parasites infect and destroy red blood cells, which can lead to severe anemia, a condition in which the concentration of red blood cells is too low to supply enough oxygen to the body's tissues. Infected blood cells can also clump together and stick to the body's blood vessels, blocking blood flow to the brain. The result is often blindness, brain damage, or death. Drugs are available to treat malaria, though many are expensive. To be most effective, the drugs must be taken before the disease becomes severe. Poor families in places such as rural Africa cannot afford the drugs, or they put off going for treatment until it's too late. Such prophylactic or preventative medications are also available. When given to uninfected people, they attack the parasite if it ever gets into the body. But the prophylactic drugs are expensive and hard on the body. Travelers can safely take time for a few weeks or months, but the pills are too toxic for people living in malaria-affected countries to tolerate for long periods of time. Okay, I should see some circled words and some just statements about the seriously sick section here. This was a kind of a short one, so your just statement may be only 3 or 4 words, okay? Awesome job getting right to work on that just statement. I appreciate that, Jacob. Great job following along this time. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to give you about 15 more seconds. I really like that Tristan only had a 2-word just statement. Like I said, it's just a rough sketch. Doesn't have to be a whole paragraph about what the paragraph was about. That was a joke. You can laugh. How bad malaria is. Good. Sorry, Jessica. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voices are at 0 and eyes are on me. Great job, 6th graders. Okay, we're going to read the double whammy section now. So this is partly on this page and partly on the next page, okay? So follow along. Circling scientific words and thinking about the gist. Double whammy. Many other countries followed suit, including a number of nations that relied on DDT for malaria control. A handful of malaria-ridden countries have continued to use DDT to control the disease. But even in those countries, DDT is no longer dumped in mass quantities onto the land. It is applied only to the inside walls of houses. Because malaria mosquitoes bite after dusk, protecting people inside their homes can be very effective. DDT packs a double whammy. It repels most mosquitoes and kills those that get too close. It is by far the cheapest insecticide available and lasts twice as long as the alternatives. South Africa was one nation that continued to use DDT after the United States banned the chemical. By 1996, South Africa had fewer than 10,000 annual malaria deaths. That year, the country switched from DDT to other insecticides. The new insecticides were also widely used in farming, and the overexposed mosquitoes quickly became resistant to the chemicals. By 2000, the number of deaths from malaria had risen to more than 60,000. At that point, South Africa turned back to DDT. Within 3 years, malaria infections dropped nearly to 1996 levels. In other countries where DDT has been used, from Ecuador to Sri Lanka, it has had similar positive effects. Today, only about 20 countries use DDT for malaria control, according to Roger Bate. Many more could benefit, he says. Okay, so I should see words circled in that section, and great job. And I would like a just statement. That is a good question. Can you maybe look at the context and think about it? What is it talking about there?
Maybe like, I don't know, because it says it's like,
So it's saying that it's cheaper than the alternatives. So if I were to say,
it looks like, so it's talking about DDT, so it says like, it lasts twice as long as the alternatives, so the alternatives must be less.
you're right there. You're right there, dude.
Like less, might not work as well.
Can I give you an example? Because I think you know what alternative means. I think that you're maybe overthinking it. So here's an example of giving you an alternative. I'm going to say you can go to recess, or the alternate option is for you to stay in here and finish more work. Another option. Yes, good job. All right, it looks like I see most people are finished writing their final just statement, so let's come back together in 5, 4, 3, 2, And 1. Excellent job. Voices are at 0 and eyes are on me. I appreciate that quick, quiet work that you guys were doing. Okay, so now, I kind of went over this earlier, but we're going to have a scientific word wall that's going to follow us through the whole lesson unit. Okay, so we're going to be encountering a lot of scientific terminology. Another word for vocabulary is terminology. Okay, as we dig deeper into this unit, so we will keep a scientific word wall, or 2, because we didn't have enough room, to show our learning. Remember, we reflect on our learning as we continue to go through it, right? Okay, so it is, wow, I just repeated myself. It is important that we are constantly reflecting on our learning and understanding. This will help with that. Each time we come to a new science word, we're going to put it on our scientific word wall. Make sense? Or does not make sense? I need to re-explain. Okay, looks like those of you who put your thumbs up understand. Good. Okay, so what we're going to do is each person is going to have 5 sticky notes, and I might give you more than 5, but just work with it. Okay, you got to go. See you, bud. And so what you're going to do is you're going to write down a science term from the article on your sticky note. You should have at least 5 circled. Yeah? Yeah. Okay? When you've written down your 5 words, turn to a partner and compare your words. Try to determine the meaning. Okay, I'm not looking for a perfect definition, but just try to determine the meaning. So just look at the context, look at words inside that word that you might not know. Okay, I see a lot of you have circled the word pesticide. Do you remember how we figured out that word, what it meant? Okay, so you're going to be using your close reading skills to determine the meaning, or whatever, as much as you can, of these scientific words, okay? And when you're done writing down, you're going to share. So this is like a voice level 1 activity because it's a small group activity, okay? Here, I'm just going to give you guys a big stack. Just going to give you guys a big stack. If you need more, let me know. If you need more sticky notes, let me know, okay? There you go. I'm going to give you about, it's 10:14, at 10:22. We're going to come back, whole group, yes. Oh, you didn't get any? Well, I gave them a whole stack, so they should separate. I gave you enough for the 3 of you to all have some. You write down all your words and then go through and think about the definitions, because you might have the same words as other people in your group, okay?
I'll pick 1 word for every sticky note.
Yes, thank you, Keegan, for helping with the directions for Angel.
And I may have accidentally, well, not accidentally, had a juice for every sticky note.
That's fine. Oh, thank you. Yes. Ah, dang it.
I think I'm going to need a bit more than 5.
Just do 5. Just do 5, okay? Huh? You need more? Do you need more? How many more do you need?
None.
Okay. Everybody has 5? Okay, remember, 10:22 is when we're going to come back together. So why don't you move here so you can talk to Chris a little bit more? Okay? Okay, but do you remember how we talked about how since you got the privilege of moving that you needed to be a part of this group? Okay, so I'd appreciate. Okay, but do you have your 5 words written down? Yep, 5. It says up there that you're going to write 1 word per sticky note. Okay, when you've written down your 5 words, turn to a partner and compare your words. Thanks for getting to work so quickly. I see a lot of really good scientific words. You guys are awesome close readers. You don't have to write down the definitions.
Oh.
Just write down the words and then you're going to talk about the words. Okay?
Bless you.
Just throughout the whole article. Nice. I like that word. Taylor, great job.
So it's like this.
Perfect. That is exactly what I want. Thanks, Jacob.
Like that? Is that good?
Excellent. Yep.
And then I'll write the...
You don't have to write the definition, but if you know it, boom, I know what this is, you can write it.
Okay.
That might help you. But you don't have to write the definition, okay? That's why we're going to compare our words with our neighbors. We're going to help each other out. Teamwork makes the dream work, people.
Just 5 of them?
Just 5 words, yep.
It's 10:17, so you've got still 5 minutes. Okay? If you need more time, I can give you more time. Awesome. I see that you found 3 really good words so far. Great job. Keep it up. You should be really proud of this word. That's a great word. That's a great scientific word. Awesome job, Alex. Remember, when you're finished with your 5 words and your neighbor is finished, you can start sharing as soon as you're done, okay? Nice. Okay. Caden just has one more word, and then you guys can share together, okay? Good. Scientific word. You know what I like about this word is that it's a scientific word, but it's also a mathematic word. So it's showing us that science and math are connected. Just like reading and science are connected, right? Great job, Angel. You guys are doing awesome.
No, estimate is like...
Where did you see the word estimate?
No, it was estimated.
Do you think that estimated could be a scientific word?
Where did I circle that one?
Did you circle estimated, Jessica?
Yeah.
I think that that is a great word, and I think you should probably write that one down because I think it is definitely a scientific word.
How do you spell plasmodium? Where is it? Plasmodium.
I think it's on the first page.
Right here.
Yep, and bad air.
Okay.
Great job. So Chris and Caden, have you started sharing out yet your words, comparing your words?
I didn't know.
When we compare, we're looking at what words we have the same, maybe what words we have different. Okay? And then you're going to try and together figure out some definitions. If you don't know yet, that's okay, because we'll get there. Okay? It's like you're going to be playing Go Fish with words. I just turned the heat up for you. I hear a lot of really good discussion. Thank you, 6th graders. Have you guys discussed your words? It looks like you all have 5.
Yeah, I discussed mine.
Did you come up with definitions for them? Huh? No? That's okay. Maybe a few of them that you could come up with definitions? Okay, it's 10:20. I'm going to give you 2 more minutes to discuss, and then we're going to meet whole group.
Oh, we discussed that?
Mm-hmm. When you're done, you start discussing.
Me. I wrote the longest word in the world.
Ooh, I like that scientific word, Kaylee. Good job. You guys are so good at finding scientific words. I am so impressed right now.
I think ecologist is like a scientist or something.
Oh my God. Yes!
A chemical pesticide is that a
I already told you. There's
Yeah, I didn't know you were going to do it.
I got everything laid out like I'm in the FBI or something.
We kind of are like investigating right now, aren't we?
Because we're
Good.
investigating a murder.
The murder of mosquitoes, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay, about 30 more seconds, 6th graders. Finish up your conversations, and we're going to meet back whole group in 30 seconds. About 20 now, probably, but.
What's ecologist?
Ecologist?
Isn't that someone that studies like Earth? Or is that like that's a,
Dude,
no, it's nature.
dude, you're awesome.
Is that a good definition?
Yes, good. It really is. Excellent. Okay, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voices are at 0 and eyes are on me. Excellent job coming back to whole group after that kind of chaotic discussion we were just having. I love it. Okay, who wants to maybe share something that they discussed, a word, a definition? We'll get to everybody that wants to share. Yes.
Plasmodium.
Plasmodium. And did you come up with a definition, yes or no?
No.
Nope, not yet, right?
Good. Okay, we'll get there. Robert. Can you say it louder so the people over there can hear you? Ecologist. And did you come up with a definition for ecologist, yes or no? Okay, and what was your definition? A type of scientist. Good. Robert and I had a discussion. He used his background knowledge about the words eco and ologist to discover that an ecologist is a type of scientist. Excellent job, Robert. Thank you. Christopher. Vector. And did you come up with the definition for vector, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually in the second paragraph in bad air around the end. It says a vector is an organism.
A vector is a what?
Organism.
Is an organism. Where did you find that? Second page?
Second, in bad air, second paragraph.
So a vector is an organism that spreads disease-causing agents from host to host. Okay? Good. All right. Who else wanted to share? Caden? Huh? Same as Chris? Okay. Who else wants to share? Alex?
Organism.
Organism. And did you come up with the definition, yes or no?
Kind of.
Okay. Would you like to share?
Sure.
Okay. What did you say?
I kind of thought it was kind of like an organ in your body. Like, it could get infected. Like, it said mosquitoes could bite you, and it could affect your body.
Okay, so he doesn't necessarily know for sure the definition right now, but he broke the word organism apart and he saw the word organ in there. Good. Oh, perfect. So Jacob's going to help Alex out, and he says he has a definition of organism. What is it?
Organism is a living thing.
Organism is any living thing. So are we organisms?
Yep.
Are elephants organisms? Yep. Are parasites organisms? Are rocks organisms? No. Why are rocks not organisms, Caden? Good. So remember, we're at voice level 0 during whole group discussion, okay? Good. All right, we have time for 3 more. Brendan.
I just went, like, I guess, normal, I did DDT. DDT is a chemical pesticide.
DDT, a chemical pesticide. Good. Kaylee. So it's the chemical name for DDT, right? Very long word. Good. Okay, one more, Jessica. Estimated. And Jessica, why did you choose estimated as a scientific word? So Jessica said estimated, and she got the word estimated from malaria kills an estimated 2 million people per year, right? Okay? Just set it down there, thanks. So what do you have to do in order to estimate? You have to guess and check. Is guessing and checking something that scientists do?
Yes.
So do we think that estimated is a scientific word? Yeah, let's give Jessica a clap for thinking deep about that. 1, 2, 3. Great job. Okay, so that is all that we have time for sharing out, but keep your sticky notes close. Oh, 6th graders, I'm going to ask for a voice level 0. It's whole group, and if we look at my champs board, Alex, we're at a voice level 0. Thank you. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to look at our science word charts here. There are how many categories up here? Show me with your fingers. Wow, we have some good mathematicians in here. We have 6 categories. Chemicals, disease, processes, science and scientist, living things, and other. Okay, so let's go through these just really quick and we can kind of base decisions of what these things mean. So chemicals. Excellent job. Jacob just said that'd be like DDT. Would clouds go under chemicals? Okay, so it could be a gas.
Well, actually, a cloud is evaporated air, so I get, but I mean evaporated water, and water is a liquid.
Okay, so maybe clouds could go under chemicals. Would chairs go under chemicals? No. Okay, so we are going to be dealing with chemicals, right? DDT especially. So if you wrote DDT, it's a chemical, right? Good. Disease. What's one word that we came out of this article that we could put under disease? Christopher.
Anemia. Good. Excellent. What's another one? Malaria. Good. Okay. Processes. This one's kind of difficult. Who can think of an example for processes? Jackson? So the process that happens when you get malaria, so like the flu-like symptoms and stuff like that. Good. What about spraying DDT to kill pesticides or to kill insects? Is that a process? Yeah, it's something that scientists were like, or farmers were like, we got to do this to get rid of a problem. It's a process, okay? Good. Science and scientists. So a name or a type of science or ecologist maybe, okay? Living things like birds. What about organism? Perfect. And other would be anything else that might not fit perfectly into these categories. So maybe we would put clouds under other if we weren't sure if it was chemicals or not. Chair. Okay? So, voice level 0, guys, you're doing so good. Just a few more minutes. We're almost done, okay? All right, so your exit ticket is to place 3 per group. 3, so one person from each group is going to do the placing. Okay? 3 words under the right category. So you can spend the next 2 or 3 minutes discussing which words and what categories, and then that one person will go. This is your exit ticket, but I'm allowing you to work together. So it's 10:29. At 10:32, you should be done. Ready, go! Yes. Yep. What do you think?
Wait, what about this one? I can't read it. I think it's like other, because I don't... That one.
Prophylactic?
Yep.
I think that every word that you have written down is a scientific word, but I think it's up to you to decide where those words belong.
Parasite and vector, we already know where to go. Do you think it's a process?
I would think it might, yeah. I hear really good discussion. Thanks for taking this exit ticket so seriously, guys.
Parasite.
Okay, I see that 2 groups are finished, so I'm waiting on 1, 2, 3 more. But leave your book out because we're going to do some reading from chapter 5. Huh? Not right now. I think you need, this is your exit ticket. You need to discuss that between yourselves. Yep, that's probably a very good place for it. Great job, Kaden. Thanks. Did you guys get your 3 up there? Yeah. Alex is doing it right now? Awesome. When you're finished putting your 3 sticky notes, put all the rest of your sticky notes in your binder so we can look back on them. And then you may put your binder in your desk, but leave your book out because we're going to read chapter 5. Later. I'm changing a little bit. I don't know when they're doing math because everybody's in DARE and things are weird today. So no, not today.
Miss Browning, this is Tristan's. It's not 8, so do you have to help me write it down?
Which one are you putting it in?
Well, it's a parasite.
So living things? Okay. We will problem solve. Yeah. Okay. All right, I see that everybody has their sticky notes up here. So I'm going to give you the next 30 seconds to get prepared. All you need is your book. That's all you need.
You should already have it out.
Excellent point, Tristan. You should already have it out. This does not require a lot of talking. Dylan, we're going to read chapter 5 of not this book, but of this book. I know, but it's cold. Okay, 5, 4, 2, 1. Voices are at 0 and eyes on me. I should have desks that are closed. The only thing out should be your book. I'll give you 10 more seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2 and 1.5, 1 1/4, and 0. 1, 0. Okay. All right, so open up to chapter 5. That would be on page 50. Yeah, 50. In which frightful peregrinates. Dylan, can you open up your book to page 50? We're going to read chapter 5. So I'm going to read aloud to you guys, and you'll follow along silently. Okay, and pay close attention because we will be writing a summary on chapter 5 later, like tomorrow. Get it?
Got it.
Good. Remember, this is a voice level 0 activity because it is a whole group part of our reading lesson. All right. When a light snow covered the Sakari River Valley, Frightful's bird sense urged her one last time to leave or die. She took a reading on the sun's rays, listened to her internal compass, and started south. She covered only 10 miles before she turned back. She was hungry. She would find Mole. When she was over the pine woods where she had been held captive, she flew faster. Mole's farm was ahead. Speeding swiftly, she overshot the farm. It had changed. The weedy fields where the game lived had been leveled and their black soil turned over in neat rows. The dense bushes along the fences where many birds lived had been clipped. She circled the culvert. It too was changed. The bushes that covered its entrance were gone. The culvert was a round, bare hole. "Cree, cree, cree," she called. Mole did not come out. Frightful circled the farm again, but did not find the yellow hound. She flew to the silo. The air was bumpy where warm currents met cold. She rode the waves to the ledge of the silo and stepped under the jutting roof. The veins of her flight feathers were split and dry. She oiled them, then snapped them back in line by running her beak down the shafts from base to tip. She let go with a flick that triggered the veins to fall neatly into place. This done, she was sleek and ready to hunt. Frightful surveyed the landscape. Even the woods were different. The leaves had fallen and the red-tailed hawk nest was empty. The parents and young had migrated to warmer lands. Weak from hunger, she left the silo and flew back over the culvert. She waited on for Mole. The wind tossed her. She matched each burst with a twist to stay in place, but Mole did not come out. Behind her, purple, red, and blue-gray clouds forecast rain and wind. It was urgent that she find food. Swooping along fence rows to scare up game, she searched intently. Nothing stirred. Twilight sent her back to the silo ledge, her hunger raging. Hours later, she was awakened by thunder shaking the old silo. The dark night was lit by flashes of lightning. With each flash, she saw dancing trees and wild water pouring across the barnyard. It gushed out of Mole's culvert. The flashes became almost continuous, then stopped. The rain pummeled, swished, pattered, and was over. She went back to sleep. At sunrise, the sky was white, yellow, and pale blue, the colors of a rain-cleansed day. The woods and farm sparkled with freshness. Frightful flew over the culvert and waited on. Mole did not make an appearance. She was growing weaker. Spotting a distant harvested cornfield, she flew to a tree at its edge. She waited for something to move. Finally, she caught a mouse. The storm had driven the bigger game into their shelters and burrows. In the late afternoon, Frightful flew back to the culvert. Out of the sky plunged a bald eagle. He aimed right at her. She backflipped, and he missed. The eagle beat his wings and got above her for another strike. He dove. She rolled to her back, threw up her feet, and raked him with her sharp talons. He flew up to strike again. Frightful dropped to the ground, and as the eagle dove once more, ran into Mole's culvert. He lost sight of her. He climbed, circled the culvert once, then boarded an air current that carried him off toward the Hudson River. He would spend the winter fishing there. Safe inside the culvert, Frightful panted from fright, then quickly became calm. Bird emotions are intense, but short. She glanced at her surroundings. The gushing storm water of last night had slowed to a trickle. She drank. Refreshed, she walked out to the mouth of the culvert, saw no eagle, and sprang onto her wings. She climbed high and fast over the tilled field. When she was high enough to feel safe, she leveled off. An undulating wind rocked her southward over a brushy meadow. She came down on a fence post and watched for food. She was growing feeble as hunger weakened her. Suddenly, she was in deep trouble. The sun was setting. In mere minutes, the light would be too low for her to find a roost. She flew up into the last light. It illuminated the bell tower of the abandoned church at Beaver Corners. She headed for it. Winging to its weathered and rotting peak, she landed gracefully. The churchyard was thick with weeds. A farm and woods lay nearby. She had been here. She shifted her weight nervously as the condor face of the man who had taken her from Sam flashed into her visual memory. She felt fear, but it was too late in the day to move on. She forgot him. Snow patches lay under trees where the sun did not fall. A migrating Cooper's hawk dropped into the nearby woods for the night. Like Frightful, he too was late. The sun set. The sky turned a twilight purple. Frightful could see only light and dark shapes. She flew down to the sill of one of the 4 glassless windows in the church bell tower. Lifting her wings, she walked into a square, moldy room and jumped up onto a rusted bell lying on its side. Every window was black with night. She shook her feathers and, weak from hunger, fell into a restless sleep. Last night's thunderstorm had preceded a cold front. The temperature dropped below freezing and the migration of the birds stopped. The robins and wood thrushes and other small birds that navigated by the stars at night fluttered down into the trees. They sought the warmth of the wind-breaking woods to wait for the cold front to pass. At dawn, they tittered among the trees. They called to each other and ate insects numbed by the cold. It was also too cold for hunger-weakened Frightful to fly on her way. She must eat. She took off from the tower and flew over a weedy meadow. A rabbit jumped up and ran toward a thicket of spiny hawthorn trees. Hunger sharpened her skills, and Frightful was upon it before it reached the fortress. No migrating eagle passed overhead. No barred owl saw her. She ate, her strength returning quickly. The leftovers she carried back to the bell tower. The cold did not let up for days. Frightful and the thrushes stayed on at Beaver Corners. In the middle of one night, the warmth returned. Wings rustled like taffeta as the birds lifted themselves out of the woods and continued their migration. Frightful opened her eyes. Ribbons of birds were flying across the yellow face of the moon. The birds were navigating by the shining light of stars. In the morning, the haze of an Indian summer day erased trees, fields, and roads. Frightful could not see well enough to fly. She shifted her feet restlessly. Then, the one mountain among thousands, the one tree among millions, and Sam were coming more vividly to mind the longer she lingered. And on an unusually warm day in early November, she stepped to the open sill of the bell tower. She had caught no food for 2 days. She must move south. Frightful tried to read the angle of the sun's rays, but a gray-blue haze cut them out, and she could not get their message. She turned her head from right to left. She felt tiny iron particles in her brain lining up with the Earth's magnetic field. She needed both the sun's rays and the magnetic field to plot her course. She had only one. She took off anyway. Frightful headed southwest. She flew over the town of Bern and the steeples of North Blenheim. She chased a night heron up the Sakari River, lost him, and pursued a mallard duck, and lost her. She was not trained for birds. She stopped chasing them and came down to rest on a spruce tree on the banks of the Sakari Reservoir. The air was dense with moisture. Clouds thickened and darkened the sky. Around noon, they let go. Rain poured down. The tree trunks became rivers and spruce needles waterfalls. Frightful was her own tent. Water ran off her head and shoulders, her beak and her tail. No wetness seeped through her feathers. When the rain blurred her eyes, she cleared them by flashing her nictitating membranes like windshield wipers. She sat calmly on the deluge. A lost great blue heron took shelter on a limb below her. Frightful looked at it only because it moved. The bird was too big for her to take. A wind hit the forest in strong gusts in the afternoon. Clouds circled clockwise. The edge of the last tropical storm of the year had twisted up from the south and was drenching the Sakari Valley and reservoir. Rain fell for 2 nights and 3 days. Frightful dropped lower on the spruce tree and waterproofed her feathers with the oil from her tail gland. The deluge slowed. The clouds circled counterclockwise, and a flock of spotted sandpipers blew in from the coast. They ran the shore edges like wind-up toys, and snatched minute bits of food. Frightful turned her head away. Her natural prey, the water bird, still did not interest her. Sam's training had faded somewhat under Chup's menu, but game from the upland meadows was still very much her idea of food. The sun came out. Frightful flew to the top of the tallest spruce. Although the day was windy, all the guideposts she needed to orient herself were readable. She found the longitude of Atlantic Flyway, the migrating route of the birds of the east, and the magnetic field of the earth. She flew. She was going away from the one mountain among thousands, the one tree among millions, and Sam. She was going south to warm weather and food. catching an air current that took her up and over a mountain. She looked down on acres of open fields, meadows, and grassy clearings. Here lived the food she liked. She coasted down to the roof of a small cabin. It was Woodchuck Lodge, the mountain home of nature writer John Burroughs. Before Frightful could gather her wits, a chipmunk, abroad on the nice day, snatched some grass seeds and ran under a mammoth boulder and was gone. Around the rock were drifts of snow, now sodden from the tropical storm. A plaque marked John Burroughs' grave. Frightful brought herself to attention. She must eat. Concentrating, she looked at every twisting grass blade and bobbing seed head. Suddenly she drew in her feathers and stretched her neck. The mountain laurel by the lodge was shaking. Frightful lowered her body to strike. Out from under the porch came Mole. His ears and coats were plastered with autumn spurs and Spanish needles. Around his neck was a collar. Mole had been on an adventure. The adventure had taken him far from the culvert. While Frightful was watching the young peregrines learn to hunt, Mole's run-down farm had been sold. We're on page 59 of... Oh, I'm using your book. You can just listen. Sorry. Mole's run-down farm had been sold. The new owners were aunt and uncle to Hanny and Hedrick Van Stanford, friends of Sam and Alice Gribley. Hanny and Hedrick had come over to the Alamont to help their relatives restore the neglected farm. They had cleared brush, tilled the abandoned fields, and leveled the overgrown fence rows. Their work done, they were driving home in Hedrick's pickup when they saw his dog slinking alongside the road. He wore no collar to say he was a pet. Hedrick stopped the truck, and Hanny jumped out. Mole vanished into a culvert. After many kind words and tasty food offerings, Mole finally trusted Hanny enough to creep into the cab. He cringed at her feet all the way back to the Van Stanford farm. At the farm, Hedrick combed the burrs from Mole's hair and gave him a bath. Mole was embarrassed. He put his tail between his legs and hung his head. Next, Hedrick put a collar around his neck, snapped a leash to it, and dragged him, protesting, all the way to the barn. A bed of sweet straw, water, and ample food were put down. Mole dug under the straw and hid. He refused to eat. Hedrick sat with him late into the night, talking softly. Mole heard, "Good dog," many times, and then his new name, General. He listened to the kindness in Hedrick's voice and finally ate and fell asleep as the sun was coming up. 2 nights later, he chewed through his leash and jogged west. He crossed the bridge at Gilboa and climbed into the forested mountains. He hunted, slept, and came out of the trees at Woodchuck Lodge. The layout looked good to Mole. Weeds, briars, and the grasses told him there would be rabbits, pheasants, woodchucks, and mice. He sniffed around the lodge, found no sense to say the house was occupied by people, and squeezed under the porch. Near the chimney base, he clawed out a cozy wolf bed and settled in. Although Mole was happy to be away from people and bedded down in his own home, he was faced with a problem. The cold had sent the woodchucks into their burrows for the winter. After a few days of fruitless searching, he trotted across the field, headed for the town dump he had passed on his way up the mountain. "Cree! Cree! Cree!" Mole stopped. Sniffing into the air, he looked up. Frightful was sitting on top of the lodge, feathers shining in the autumnal light. He stared at her. She cocked her head and stared at Mole. She did not wonder at finding him again, just opened her wings and flew out over the field. Mole broke into a run, and nose to the ground worked the grasses and dead goldenrod spikes. A rabbit burst out. Swift as light, Frightful was upon it. She pumped her wings and carried it away without coming down to the ground. When she was almost to the lodge, a great horned owl saw Rabbit and Falcon and sped silently out of the woods and sank her talons into the food. Thrown off the balance, Frightful fanned her flight feathers, regained her equilibrium, and went after the owl. Owl and Rabbit vanished into the woods. Frightful, a falcon of the open skies, did not follow. She pushed down on her wings and up with her tail and came to rest on the porch railing of Woodchuck Lodge. Mole was right behind her. Then the two looked at each other. Then the old hound turned and went back to his hunting field. On the second try, they caught a pheasant. This time, Frightful scanned the sky for thieves before flying with it to the rooftop. Daintily, she ate choice pieces. Mole sat on his haunches, looking up at her, his tongue hanging out, his mouth drooling. He wanted his share of that food. Suddenly, he growl-barked so viciously that he scared Frightful. She took off, leaving the food behind. The bird rolled down the shingles and fell to the ground. Mole picked it up and, tail wagging, carried it under the lodge. Then he feasted. Frightful had eaten enough to bring back her strength. She flew to a tall tree and perched. The bright sun was warming the fields and meadows, creating a twisting and invisible bubble. On it rode a lonely peregrine tercel. He circled up and up. Frightful opened her wings. Lift took her into the thermal. She spiraled to a ceiling. The tercel peeled off and shot south like a missile. Frightful was next. She circled the top of the bubble, tipped her wing, and spread her tail. Everything was right. The angle of the sun's rays, the wind, the temperature, and the magnetic field of the earth. She ripped through the sky like a meteor. Her wings spread in glorious flight. She looked down on the vast landscape. And there it was, the one mountain among thousands of mountains, the one tree among millions of trees, and somewhere there, the one boy. Frightful turned abruptly west, and in minutes was over the mountain. Snow lay on its highest levels. Food would be scarce here. She flew back to Woodchuck Lodge. There, the last week messages from the environment pointed her southward again, but she had seen the mountain. Confused, she cacaed in distress and flew into the spruce tree for the night. Close your books. Okay, so it's 10:48. Thank you. So normally we would be having recess right now, but like I said, we have kind of a weird schedule today. So what I want you to do is take this next couple of minutes to work on PSTs. Not daily geography, just PSTs. This is going to be our math for right now, okay? We'll do more math in a little bit, but that's what we're going to work on right now. I know. You may absolutely work with a partner. If you want to work at the back table, you can. If you want to work at a desk over there, make yourself comfortable. Whatever learning environment fits you best right now. But only PSTs, no daily geography. Only what? PSTs. Only what? PSTs. Only what? PSTs. Thank you. Hey, just in time. I just finished. Why isn't this working? Oh, it's fine. You can throw it away.